So hi guys, my name is Govind Singh.
My name is Ayush Mittal.
So today we're gonna talk about a product that was one of the greatest hit of all times, and another product that couldn't do much better, and I wonder why it even happened in the first place.
To make the assignment more interesting, we tried to relate the successful product with the failed one. And
So we took a product that made my childhood amazing. I, as a music lover, is a very big fan of this product. Yes, I'm talking about the amazing Apple iPod. The Apple iPod was quite a revolution and it was better than any other MP3 players back in the early 2000s.
for the failed product, we took something that you might never heard of. Well, it is Microsoft Zune. Yeah, it is something that existed once.
So everybody knows what an Apple iPod is, and if you are old enough, you might have at some point even own yourself an iPod. So Apple launched its iPod in the year 2001. Back then at the time, Apple iPod wasn't the only MP3 player available in the market. There were other MP3 players too. Also, Apple iPod even had some flaws like it was only compatible with Mac and it didn't run quite efficiently on Windows. Windows was an operating system which quite literally everyone had. Also, it came at an expensive price of $399.
But even after all this, Apple iPod was considered better than other cheaper and window compatible music players available in the market, all because of its product quality. This new Apple iPod had an excellent battery life. It also allowed quick transfer speeds and it could be very efficiently used while working out. Apple gathered some other similar qualities and put them all together in the iPod, and it was quite literally able to make significant change in people's life.
Apple iPod became even more successful when Apple made certain significant improvisations to the Apple iPod. These improvisations included making the Apple iPod Windows compatible. They also launched iPods in certain cheaper variants like the Apple iPod Mini and the Apple iPod Nano so that everyone can get hold of it. All these changes were good, but the significant change, the most important change that made the Apple iPod a great hit was the release of iTunes. Yes, this was a great move by Apple. By releasing iTunes, they made the music download 80% legal. So basically, all the music labels wanted their music to be copy protected. So, what did Apple do for it? So, what they did was they made their device copy protected. To put it in simple words, if you want to download some song from iTunes, you will have to have an Apple iPod. Otherwise, you won't be able to download music. So, what did this do? So, this basically put the entire music high end portable players market in a state of lockdown.
These small changes made such a great impact that Apple, which made sales of around 41 million iPods from 2001 to 2006, alone made a total sales of 39 million iPods in just the year 2006. And so by the end of year 2006, Apple owned more than 3/4 of MP3 player hardware market in the world. Started to believe that Apple was the king of MP3 player hardware market and it couldn't be dethroned or even competed with a company that had guts to release their own MP3 player in the market. Yes, it was Microsoft that released an MP3 player, called it Microsoft Zune in November 2006. Microsoft basically just rebranded Toshiba MP3 player and called it Zune. But the operating system and the hardware that it essentially ran on was created by Toshiba. It was just that Microsoft made certain improvisations to it.
These improvisations didn't quite seem to satisfy people. For instance, the color of these Zune MP3 players was poop brown and green, which people didn't quite approve of and was hence very much criticized. People even said that these Zune MP3 players were the ugliest tech devices that they have ever seen. Being a software company, Microsoft further launched Zune Marketplace to compete with iTunes. It was a complete replica of iTunes, but trust me, it was worse than iTunes in every possible way. They even started a Zune Pass that was a streaming service that came at a subscription of $15 per month. I mean, that was a great idea, and that's exactly how companies and streaming websites are working today. But at that time, maybe the people didn't like that too, and hence criticized Microsoft a lot.
This Zune has all the features of the iPod, except it's not as good. And
The other reason why Zune failed was because when they dared to enter the hardware market, there was already a player that was dominating the entire market, and that was Apple iPod. When Microsoft released its first generation Zune MP3 player, there was already 5th generation Apple iPods in the market. While the 5th generation iPods was perfect in every possible way, what Microsoft Zune offered to its user was a heavier, bulkier MP3 player that had the worst battery life, terrible menu recognition, and a bad handling.
Well, Microsoft themselves designed the second generation Zune and made significant changes to it. For instance, the second generation Zune had a better navigation, as this time they brought in the amazing Zune Pad. Also, the second generation Zune and the Zune Flash had glass screens, unlike the first generation Zune that had a plastic screen. The Zune Flash even had a feature of landscape video. This time they did everything amazing. But unfortunately, the iPod 6th Gen Classic and the 3rd Gen iPod Nano, which were released in the market just 6 months prior to our 2nd Gen Zune and the Zune Flash, also had the similar features. Even they had glass screens, and even their screen size was bigger than the Zune Flash. And the iPod Nano also had this feature of landscape video. Bad timing for Microsoft.
Unfortunately, Zune's timing of coming out in the market was miserable. They were just too far behind, and even the 2nd generation Zunes couldn't fix it. Microsoft was already too late to hit the market, and every device they released was just a copy of an iPod released 6 months to 1 year prior. Microsoft, if wanted, could have been beaten Apple in terms of price, but they didn't seem to work out that field too. Zunes were always priced the same as the competing iPods, and in some instances, like the 2nd generation Zunes were priced 99 cents costlier than its contender.
Microsoft lastly launched the Zune HD that had all the capabilities of beating the Apple iPod. It was best in looks, had an amazing sound quality, could be easily navigated through, and could be synced to computers just over through Wi-Fi. This feature didn't make it in the Apple iPod Touch for another 3 years. Also, it was one of the earliest devices to have an OLED display. It was a game winner. It was far cheaper than Apple iPod Touch, and upon comparing to the Apple iPod, it was clearly better.
But even though Zune HD was a better music player than the iPod Touch, it could have been still failed because it was just a music player, while the iPod Touch was an app machine. Microsoft also provided apps, but they were very limited, while the Apple iPod Touch had endless apps. Furthermore, Apple iPod and iPhone shared the same operating system and were cross-compatible, while in Microsoft Zune, internet access was prohibited, 3D processing was limited, and performance was nerfed. And again, Zune HD was too late. It was launched in November 2009, 2 years after the release of iPod Touch, and 2 weeks after iPod Touch 3rd generation was launched. And it was more than a year and a half later than launching of App Store by Apple in their first iPhone OS 2.
Zune wasn't a bad device, and could have been better, but failed miserably. This was all because Microsoft didn't do the right thing at the right time. They should have kept in mind that they are trying to outthrow Apple, which was a company that everybody wanted to have in their pockets at that time. They should have done their innovation accordingly.
While on the other hand, Apple's iPod kept consistently winning the race and it was best of all, kept upgrading itself, made great innovation and was ahead of other companies always.